We saw a lot of news over the weekend for Anno 117 Pax Romana, from its release date to the different release editions of the game to pre-order, including some very interesting DLCs, and yes, finally a return to land combat in full form. Hello everybody, this is Havoc, and today we're going to dive into those however we can and see just how Anno 117 is going to step up to bring us full circle for the franchise. If this is your type of content, feel free to like, sub, and comment down below as a meaningful sacrifice to the YouTube gods and the algorithm, and be sure to check the timestamps if you're here for a very specific reason. Let's start with the release date, November 13th of 2025. We don't usually get the musical treatment when games announce a release date, especially not inside a city builder. But in any case, it looks like Anno 117 will release mid-November of this year. This isn't all that surprising considering just a few weeks ago, Ubisoft hosted content creators to check out the game, which is usually a sign that things are far enough along to be confident that the public at large will be alright with the content revealed, but still enough time to consider balance issues or some of the more strategic elements that can be reworked a bit based on feedback from the creators and their communities. What is surprising is that Anno 117 will release on PC and consoles at the same time, although only on PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S. No doubt they've taken console development from Anno 1800 into effect, and with over 2 years of said development in the last game, now that I think about it, I guess it's still a surprise, but indeed a welcome one. And with that in mind, hopefully you'll get to see your favorite content creators posting their videos before release to drum up some excitement, and Ubisoft, if you're watching this, yes, I'd like to be included. Wink wink. With that release date announcement, the Anno Union blog and a special edition video has some interesting insights into pre-orders, editions, and DLC. We'll start with the caveat that I will never recommend pre-orders due to the usual exploitative nature they entail. However, some people still want to support their favorite games and franchises, so we'll briefly take a look at what you'll get if you pre-order. The Builder Pack comes with a Wolf Player Sigil for your faction flag and 3 cosmetic items, which, to be frank, if you're going to offer pre-order items, purely cosmetic ones are the absolute best way to go about it, as they'll still give a sense of FOMO, but without the dread that someone is going to start ahead of you gameplay-wise. And the Capitoline Wolf statue does look great too. Next, we have the different editions, of which there are 3, which makes things very simple. Your standard edition can be pre-ordered at $59.99 USD and comes with the base game plus the builder pack, although I assume only the builder pack if you pre-order. The gold edition can be pre-ordered for $89.99 USD and comes with a wee bit more, including the Year 1 pass of 3 DLCs and Day 1 content containing 3 more player sigils, a ship skin, and 1 ornament. This puts the Year 1 pass at approximately $5 USD more than Anno 1800 usually ran for, and I want to focus on the contents of that DLC to see if it might be worth the extra denarii. Looking at the image here, we can see some pretty obvious features for each of the DLC. First off, what could either be Mount Etna or Mount Vesuvius, with an implication of a new region and a new scenario. If it's Mount Etna, then we could be looking at the Sicily region, a very large continent-style island that we attempt to build a massive colony on with a volcano on it. If it's Mount Vesuvius, we could be looking at a fun Pompeian scenario of rebuilding a massive city with a volcano nearby. In both cases, lots of fertile land, great coastal landscapes, and plenty of pirates in both regions. Next, what I think is a bread and games focused DLC was something akin to the Seat of Power or the High Life from what I can immediately think of. It's easy to see the renowned Hippodrome here, with the multiple types of games being selectable in the Colosseum. It's not a far reach to imagine that the same selection could extend to your theaters, your hippodromes, or other areas that would directly affect public order and your outward appearance to other players. Lastly, Egypt. At this point in the Empire, Egypt was the breadbasket of Rome, and this region literally fed its million inhabitants. We could see a form of Seeds of Change DLC here that revolutionizes how we approach agriculture, and of course the Egyptian region had plenty of outside aggressors to keep people on their toes, even with a significant military presence. Of course, I have no clue if these are what we'll be getting, but I also don't think I'm terribly far off due to how Anno 1800's DLCs went throughout its development. Now for the masterpiece of editions, the Governor's Edition. And I have to say that, as far as like Platinum or Collector's Editions go, this one has me almost willing to spend the rumored 160 USD that this edition will cost you. It gets you the Gold Edition of the game, and an Amphitheater 3D puzzle, an 84-page art book, coins, a few lithographs, a steelbook version of the game, and all very well packaged into a great looking box. Depending on the quality of that 3D puzzle, it might be worth the extra $70 to nab all of that if you're a collector of these games goodies. But now it's time to turn to my absolutely favorite reveal from the weekend, military and land combat. As mentioned in my last preview videos, there's quite literally no better time to bring back land combat in the Anno franchise than with an empire whose success had its backbone in a physical standing army. Let's do a quick walkthrough of an even quicker quote-unquote deep dive into combat with IGN's exclusive combat trailer. In Anno 117, we see land combat come back in full force, beginning with city defenses and military buildings. Using Anno 117's rather intuitive line drawing mechanics and 45-degree angles, it's a straightforward process to draw your walls and your towers, with gates automatically appearing over roads and automatically connecting to previous placed towers. I will note that the cost to create these walls is drastically cheaper than what we saw in the preview, so I'm pleased to see that change, as it was straight highway robbery in what they were charging before. There's also a maintenance cost associated with walls and towers, meaning placing walls anywhere and everywhere may not be the best strategy to keep a functioning economy. We also get a look at several of the military buildings available to us, from unit production with infantry, cavalry, and siege buildings, to what appears to be smelters and weapons productions facilities. One thing I enjoy about these buildings is their aesthetics, as the color palette and style help them to stand out from the much cleaner and brighter city buildings overall. Next, transportation and logistics. Fielding and moving your armies will be an investment, meaning waging war is a marathon, not a sprint. Your army directly takes away from your population, with the video implying that your army keeps that population that's currently drafted. There are no pops that will quote-unquote repopulate the space left from your soldiers, if that makes sense. And while we don't have any numbers on how many units a ship can hold, I think it's fair to say that it will take a small fleet to move an army of any significance. That being said, the combination of naval warfare, siege weaponry to break defenses, and beach landings gives off a very Total War vibe, which I am completely for, even if the numbers are vastly smaller than I initially thought they would be. We aren't going to see 10,000 units on the battlefield, even in the largest settings, but think more along the lines of like Total War Arena, smaller units working together to make meaningful combat. And combat looks excellent, by the way, especially for what it is. And to be honest, I'm glad that the Anno team has chosen not to go the way of Total War with attempted sync combat animations or hyper-realistic graphics. The core of land combat is still here, from flanking and morale to leveraging city layouts to create blockades and ambushes. The units look fantastic, the combat looks solid, and we're just seeing Roman on Roman combat. We haven't seen Albion units, and we'll undoubtedly see Nubians and other desert-minded units in the later DLCs, alongside who knows what else. Land combat alone adds a ton of flavor and management to your cities that, again, we haven't seen before. So I can't wait to see more in the future, but well done, Anno team. You've got a fan already. And with that, ladies and gents, the end of my overview of weekend events central to Anno 117 Pax Romana. If you enjoyed the video, as always, your support means everything to the success of the channel, and liking, subbing, or commenting will all help with that. Big shout out to our channel members who received this video early, which I do for every video that isn't tied to an embargo. Thank you so much all for watching. Keep your eyes peeled out for more strategy content in the near future. This is Havoc, and I'm out of here.